There comes a point in life where you realize that your worth is not defined by how others perceive you. When you stop desperately seeking validation, when you stop giving your time, energy, and emotions to people who show no genuine appreciation for what you bring to the table, something remarkable happens. You reclaim the power that has long been stripped from you by those who benefit from your constant attention, those who have learned to take but rarely give. It's a subtle shift, but a transformative one. You no longer chase after approval, looking for scraps of kindness, hoping that small gestures might somehow fill the void. Instead, you allow yourself to exist freely, without the need to constantly prove your worth. This is not selfishness, it's self-respect. You begin to understand that your time is precious, and it's not something to be squandered on relationships that drain you or obligations that do not nurture your soul. When you stop caring, something powerful starts to emerge, an inner peace that others cannot control. You stop bending and adjusting to the whims of others, to their moods, their expectations. You create space for yourself, and in that space you realize that the only person you need to be loyal to is yourself. And people, they notice. They may not consciously understand what has shifted, but they feel it. Your calm detachment, your unbothered demeanor. When you stop caring, something unexpected unfolds. You begin to attract different people into your life. Not those who want to take advantage of your attention, but those who respect you for who you are. And it's not even a conscious act. You simply stop doing the things that make others take you for granted, and without effort, you start building connections with those who appreciate the real, untethered you. You stop begging for attention and start living freely, and that freedom becomes magnetic. When you stop caring, it's as though you free yourself from an invisible weight that has been holding you down. You no longer feel the need to constantly monitor how others perceive you, constantly adjusting yourself to fit their expectations. And in that freedom, you discover that you begin to breathe differently. There's a lightness, a clarity that surfaces, the kind that draws people closer because they can sense it, the kind that draws people closer because they've not a contrived act. It's simply you existing as you are, unapologetically. You learn that there's nothing you can do to force people to see your value. You can't make someone care about you by desperately trying to earn their affection. Real relationships, the ones that truly enrich your life, are built on mutual respect, not constant effort from one side to keep the other interested. And when you realize this, you give yourself permission to stop chasing. And that shift, giving yourself permission, becomes a catalyst for change. And that, when you stop caring in this way, it sends a message to those around you that you respect yourself enough to not give your energy to those who do not reciprocate. It's not about being indifferent. It's about taking ownership of your emotional landscape. You are no longer seeking constant validation, but instead living in alignment with your own self-respect. And this in turn makes you desirable, because people are drawn to those who live by their own standards, who do not rely on the opinions of others to define their sense of self. When you stop caring in the right way, it's not about apathy. It's about freeing yourself from the burdens of caring too much about what doesn't serve your growth. You stop obsessing over outcomes, over how others might respond to you. Instead, you place your focus on building a life that feels good to you, a life where you stand on your own 2 feet, unshaken by the whims of those who don't truly understand your value. And this becomes a source of strength that radiates outward. It's almost paradoxical. The less you seem to care, the more people seem to care about you. Not because you are needy or desperate, but because you have stepped into a space of grounded confidence, of living according to your own values. You no longer seek to prove your worth. Instead, you embody it. And that in itself is captivating. When you stop caring, you are not shrinking, Rather, you are expanding into your own space, your own identity. You stop being at the mercy of the fleeting opinions of others, and instead, you begin to cultivate a life that is rooted in your own sense of purpose. And that power, that quiet yet undeniable presence, is what drives others mad. It's a natural pull, not something forced or contrived. It's simply you living freely, authentically, and unapologetically. When you stop caring, you give yourself the freedom to act from a place of authenticity rather than from fear or need. You no longer measure your worth by the approval of others, and as a result, you start to feel lighter, freer, untethered from the chains of constant validation. It's in this space of freedom that you begin to see your own life with clearer eyes, and you start making decisions that align with your true self, not with what others expect of you. When you stop caring, you start to experience what real self-sovereignty feels like. You are no longer trapped by the need to please, to perform, to show up in ways that benefit others at your own expense. Instead, you create boundaries that honor your emotional well-being, and those boundaries act as a shield against people who want to exploit your time, your energy, your kindness. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people altogether. It means you stop giving your energy to things that drain you, that do not return anything meaningful. You start to realize that some relationships, some connections, some expectations are just not worth the emotional investment. And once you see this clearly, you stop wasting precious time and energy on those things. You become more selective about who you give your attention to, and you choose to nurture only what truly matters to you. When you stop caring, you begin to develop a deeper sense of self-reliance. You stop relying on others to validate you, to fill your emotional gaps. You stop looking for external sources to give you a sense of worth. And in that self-reliance, you find strength, a quiet confidence that allows you to stand firm in your beliefs, in your choices, and in who you are. And this shift, when you truly stop caring, is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about freeing yourself from the need to cater to the superficial whims of others. It's about living a life that is aligned with your own values, your own standards, not shaped by the fleeting desires or expectations of those around you. And that authenticity, that true alignment, becomes something people can't help but notice. It's not something you try to force. It simply becomes the natural outcome of living by your own terms. When you stop caring, you free yourself from the endless cycle of disappointment that comes from trying to win the approval of others. You stop seeking external validation to feel good about yourself. And in that space, you begin to realize that your worth is not dependent on how others view you. Your value is inherent. It's something that cannot be added or taken away by the opinions of others. This shift in focus brings clarity. You stop fixating on what others might think, and instead you turn inward, seeking alignment with your own desires, your own truths. It becomes less about how you appear to the outside world and more about how you feel when you are by yourself, when you are standing alone, unapologetically, without needing constant reassurance. And what happens when you stop caring is that you begin to cultivate a deeper connection with your own life. You start to live in a way that reflects your true self, not who you think others want you to be. You allow yourself to pursue what truly matters, whether that's your dreams, your passions, or your own growth, without the constant pull of others' expectations dictating your every move. In this newfound freedom, you allow yourself to breathe deeply, to feel your own energy, to listen to your own inner voice. You stop letting the opinions and judgments of others weigh so heavily on you. Instead, you begin to focus on what feels right for you, what moves you closer to becoming the person you've always wanted to be. And this clarity, this sense of purpose, becomes a magnet for those who want to engage with you. When you stop caring, you create space for meaningful relationships, ones built on mutual respect and shared understanding. You stop chasing after those who only take and never give back. Instead, you attract people who appreciate you for who you are, who respect your time, your effort, your energy, not because you are constantly pursuing them, but because you carry yourself in a way that commands respect. You learn the value of emotional independence, that your happiness doesn't depend on others showing up in specific ways or meeting your expectations. You begin to see that true freedom comes when you stop being a prisoner to the needs and whims of others. And you give yourself permission to release the weight of responsibility for how others feel about you, and instead, you step into the freedom of letting people come and go as they please, knowing that your self-worth remains intact regardless of whether someone chooses to stay or leave. It's not about detaching from others emotionally. It's about detaching from the need to control how others feel about you. You stop investing in relationships that drain you, and you start investing in the ones that nurture your spirit. Relationships that are built on shared purpose, mutual growth, and respect for individual boundaries. When you stop caring in this way, you allow yourself to focus on what truly nourishes your soul, whether that's your passions, your goals, your creativity, or your pursuit of knowledge. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to others through endless effort or continuous approval seek. Instead, you live from a place of authenticity. And in that authenticity, you begin to attract people who resonate with your energy, who see you for who you really are, not for what you do to please them. When you stop caring, it doesn't mean you become closed off or indifferent. It means you stop letting others control your emotions. Stop letting them dictate your worth. You begin to trust in your own judgment, your own capacity to make decisions that serve your best interests. And this trust in yourself, this inner stability, becomes a source of power. It's a power that others recognize and respect, and it draws them toward you. The shift is subtle at first, but profound in its impact. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself to anyone, and in doing so, you create space to grow in ways that feel authentic to you. You stop performing, stop striving for acceptance, and instead you simply live, fully, freely, unapologetically. You begin to build a life where you don't need constant validation because your worth is no longer tied to the opinions of others. This is where the true freedom lies, the freedom to live according to your own principles, your own values, your own sense of self-worth. When you stop caring, you no longer feel compelled to cater to the demands or desires of others at your own expense. You begin to focus on your own needs, your own dreams, and your own passions. And this creates a stronger, healthier foundation for everything you do. When you stop caring, you realize that the energy you once poured into pleasing others can now be redirected toward creating a life that fulfills you. You stop chasing after superficial signs of affection and approval, and instead, you cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections, relationships that thrive because they are rooted in shared purpose, not fleeting desire. And you begin to see people for who they truly are, not just for what they can offer you in the moment. When you stop caring, you don't lose anything meaningful. You gain clarity, peace, and strength. You gain the ability to choose what serves you, to focus on the things that elevate your life, and to let go of what no longer aligns with your truth. You begin to live with intention, aware of your choices, aware of your impact, but not consumed by the fear of losing the approval of others. And it's in this space of self-possession, that others start to take notice. They begin to see something in you that wasn't there before, an ease, a calm, a quiet confidence that comes from no longer needing them to validate your existence. They sense that you are whole in yourself, that your worth doesn't depend on their attention, and that in itself becomes magnetic. When you stop caring, you give yourself the freedom to be unapologetically yourself, without pretense, without fear of judgment. You stop hiding behind the need to impress others, and instead, you start living according to your own standards. And as you do this, something interesting happens. You no longer feel the constant pull to seek validation from those around you because you've learned to validate yourself. This newfound self-reliance doesn't mean you shut people out. It means you stop being defined by their reactions to you. You no longer look to others to fill the gaps in your confidence or self-worth. Instead, you rely on your own internal sense of value, on your ability to trust in your decisions, to believe in your own abilities, to recognize your own inherent strengths. And in doing so, you create a boundary, a space where your energy isn't freely available to anyone who might demand it, but is instead directed toward those who respect it. You stop worrying about what others might think of you because you've learned that their opinions don't have the power to determine your self-worth. You begin to accept that everyone sees things differently, and that their judgments are often shaped by their own experiences, biases, and insecurities, not by objective truth. And once you let go of the need to control how others perceive you, you allow yourself to fully be without second-guessing every action, every word, every move. And when you stop caring, you begin to recognize your own worth more clearly. You see yourself more honestly, without the distortions that come from seeking others' approval. You see your strengths, your resilience, your intelligence, your creativity, not through the lens of how others perceive you, but through the lens of your own lived experience. You begin to value your own time, your own efforts, your own talents, not because someone else tells you they are valuable, but because you have felt their impact in your life. So there's something powerful about stepping into this space where you no longer feel the need to perform, to strive, to prove. You begin to take life more simply, more intentionally. You start to focus on the things that genuinely matter to you, your growth, your purpose, your well-being, and you stop allowing external pressures to dictate your course. You become comfortable with the uncertainty that life often brings, because you know that your value isn't tied to external outcomes. It's something inherent, something steady. When you stop caring, you stop feeding into the cycle of pleasing others, hoping for their approval in return. You learn to trust that your worth isn't something you have to constantly earn. It's something that exists already within you. You stop looking for validation from others, and instead, you begin to cultivate your own sense of self-worth. And it's this internal strength, this deep sense of confidence that makes you untouchable in a way. You no longer bend to the whims of others, but stand firm in your own truth. This doesn't mean you don't care at all. It means you stop caring about things that drain you, things that don't serve your best interests. You begin to care more deeply about the things that really matter, your passions, your relationships, your growth. You start to see that caring too much about the wrong things is what holds you back. It's what drains your energy, wears you down, makes you feel stuck. When you release that, you free yourself. It's not an easy shift, letting go of the need to please, the need to be validated, the need to earn approval. It takes courage. But once you make that leap, you begin to experience what it feels like to live authentically, freely. You stop investing your time and energy into people and things that do not give you anything meaningful in return, and you start investing in what truly nurtures your spirit. When you stop caring, you start living for yourself. You stop wasting your energy on things that don't serve you, and you start focusing on the things that lift you up. your passions, your dreams, your goals. You begin to see how much of your life has been shaped by others' expectations, and you start to reclaim that space for yourself. You stop allowing others to dictate how you should feel, how you should think, how you should act. Instead, you live in alignment with your own values, your own desires. This shift, the shift from seeking external validation to living for yourself, is what empowers you to stop giving your energy to things that don't deserve it. You learn to choose where you invest your time, where you direct your focus. You begin to care about things that truly matter, and you let go of the things that don't serve your growth, your well-being, your happiness. And as you begin to do this, something begins to change. The energy you exude becomes magnetic. You no longer feel like you have to chase after attention, approval, or validation. You begin to attract people into your life who appreciate you for who you are, not because you are constantly seeking their approval, but because you have learned to live according to your own values, your own standards. You become someone others respect, not because you try to please them, but because you respect yourself. When you stop caring, you're not retreating, you're expanding. You're expanding into the full expression of who you are. You're creating space for what truly matters, and you're letting go of everything else. You stop seeking the approval of others, and instead, you seek your own truth, your own growth. And that pursuit of living authentically becomes a powerful force in your life. It draws people in because they see someone who isn't dependent on others to feel good about themselves, but someone who has found peace and power within themselves. This is the space where true freedom exists, the freedom to live without the need for validation, the freedom to live according to your own standards. You no longer give your energy to things that drain you, you give your energy to things that uplift you. And that shift, choosing what nurtures your spirit, becomes something that others are drawn to. They see it, and it drives them mad because they sense something in you that they don't have, the freedom to be their true selves, free from the chains of constant approval. When you stop caring, you begin to live fully, unapologetically, and that kind of authenticity is rare and powerful. It draws people to you because they see someone who isn't tethered to the opinions of others, but someone who is living on their own terms, in their own truth. And that freedom, that self-assurance, it becomes something that others envy, something that makes them question why they don't feel that same kind of peace. When you stop caring, you begin to truly see yourself, without the distractions, without the noise of seeking others' approval. You realize that much of your previous energy has been spent trying to meet the expectations of others, only to find yourself feeling hollow, drained, and unfulfilled. You stop placing so much weight on what others think, and instead you focus on what aligns with your own truth, what resonates deeply with your core values. You begin to see that your worth isn't something you have to earn every day. It's something that simply is. And once you understand that, you stop measuring yourself against others, trying to match their standards or meet their expectations. You begin to take ownership of your life, your choices, your emotions, and your decisions. And in that ownership, you find clarity. You stop seeking approval to fill the gaps in your confidence. And you start building your confidence from within. You recognize that your value doesn't come from external validation. It comes from how you live your life, how you act in alignment with your own integrity. When you stop caring, you no longer live under the burden of trying to make others happy, to please them, to meet their demands. You begin to shift your focus from what others want from you to what you want from yourself. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your focus, and you start using it in ways that nurture your growth, your passions, and your well-being. You stop throwing your energy into relationships that don't give back, that don't contribute to your growth, and instead, you channel your energy into things that lift you up. It's in this space of self-care, self-respect, and self-awareness that you begin to thrive. You allow yourself the freedom to exist without apology, to make decisions that honor your own path, decisions that aren't dictated by fear of judgment, but by a deep trust in yourself. And as you do this, something begins to shift in how people interact with you. They no longer see someone who is desperate for their attention, but someone who has found stability in themselves. They can now respect and love them, seize them as they are. They begin to notice your quiet confidence, your ease, and your unshakable presence. When you stop caring, you no longer feel the need to constantly prove yourself, to justify your actions, to explain your choices. You simply live. You stop being consumed by the need to control how others feel about you, and instead, you start living for what feels right to you. You begin to trust in your own judgment, your own intuition, and you realize that your own standards are enough. You no longer feel the need to beg for others' approval, because you have learned to give that to yourself. And in this newfound space, you start to attract people who see you clearly, people who value you not for what you do to gain their favor, but for who you truly are. These relationships are built on mutual respect, mutual appreciation, not on the imbalance of one person constantly giving while the other takes. You begin to see the difference between superficial connections and deep ones, the difference between those who simply want to use you and those who want to truly know you. And as you discern this more clearly, you stop allowing your energy to be spent on those who do not give you anything meaningful in return. When you stop caring, you stop feeling obligated to prove yourself, to constantly perform, to live up to the expectations of others. You begin to feel liberated, empowered by the knowledge that you don't have to fight for validation, that your worth isn't something that requires constant reinforcement from others. You recognize that you are enough simply because you exist. Because this shift, this ability to stop caring in the right way, allows you to focus on what really matters. You no longer waste your time and energy on trying to make others happy at your own expense. Instead, you give your attention to the things that elevate you, your passions, your goals, your creativity, your purpose. And in doing this, you begin to create a life that feels aligned with your truth, a life where you no longer feel depleted by the energy you give away to people who don't reciprocate. Instead, you create a space where you can thrive, where you can truly live. When you stop caring, you begin to embrace the fullness of who you are, your strengths, your vulnerabilities, your desires, your fears, all of it. You stop hiding behind the masks you've worn to gain approval, and instead you step into a life where you are free to be the real, unfiltered version of yourself. You give yourself permission to exist fully without constantly seeking others' approval. And in that freedom, you begin to discover who you truly are. Beyond what others tell you, beyond what society expects, beyond what you once thought you had to be to gain acceptance. And it's in this space of self-ownership, that you begin to feel the fullness of your own potential. You stop settling for relationships, jobs, or situations that don't fulfill you. You stop allowing yourself to be weighed down by the demands of others, and instead you choose to spend your energy on things that bring you joy, on things that challenge you to grow, on things that push you toward becoming the best version of yourself. You begin to see that your time and energy are precious, and you refuse to waste them on anything that doesn't serve your well-being. When you stop caring, you stop being at the mercy of other people's opinions, of their judgments, of their expectations. You learn to let go of the need to prove yourself, to constantly show others that you are worthy, that you are valuable. Instead, you stand firmly in your own self-worth, knowing that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel good about who you are. You recognize that your worth doesn't fluctuate based on others' responses. It's something steady, something unwavering. And when you stop caring, you start to see how freeing it is to live life without the weight of trying to please others. You give yourself permission to walk your own path, to pursue what truly brings you fulfillment, to create a life that reflects your own values, not the values imposed by others. You begin to prioritize your own needs, your own growth, your own happiness. And in doing this, you create space for joy, for creativity, for connection, true connection. Because the people who come into your life do so with genuine intention, not out of neediness, but out of mutual respect. When you stop caring, you stop feeding into the toxic patterns of trying to win approval, and instead you begin living for yourself. You give yourself permission to make choices based on what feels right to you, not based on what you think others expect from you. You begin to make decisions that serve your long-term well-being, your personal growth, your happiness, not the temporary validation of others. And in doing so, you start to align your actions with your own sense of purpose, and that alignment becomes a source of power. This doesn't mean you shut yourself off from others. Quite the opposite. It means you stop depending on others to validate you, and you start building connections based on shared values, mutual respect, and genuine care. You attract people into your life who see you clearly, not through the lens of how much effort you put into pleasing them, but through the lens of who you truly are. And in those connections, you begin to find what you've always craved, not validation, but authenticity, true, meaningful relationships built on the foundation of mutual respect and shared intention. When you stop caring, you give yourself the freedom to focus on what truly matters to you, the things that bring you joy, the things that make you feel alive, the things that challenge you to grow. You stop wasting your energy on the distractions of people-pleasing, and you start investing in what nurtures your spirit. And as you do this, you begin to see the power in living authentically, in living according to your own truth. And in that power, you find a quiet strength that others cannot help but notice. When you stop caring, you stop feeling like you have to prove yourself, and instead you start living in alignment with your own values. You stop wasting your time and energy on things that don't give you anything meaningful in return, and you begin to focus on what truly elevates you. Your passions, your goals, your creativity, your purpose. You give yourself permission to prioritize your own growth and well-being, and in doing so, you create a life that feels deeply fulfilling, one where you no longer feel like you have to chase after anything because you have already found what you need within yourself.